he's worked with me as my cinematographer on 3 of my PBS documentaries.
Oh.
And, you know, he's just been a tremendous help to me over the years. And before we watch Bounce, my son is going to share the film that I'm giving him his director's debut on, and it's called The Epicenter. So at this time, I want to introduce you guys to my son, Douglas Jr., and he'll share a little bit about the Epicenter project.
Hi, Deborah. You must feel so proud right now.
Okay, it's working.
See, his voice is not as loud as mine.
Yeah. I won't talk too much about, Don Barksdale's film right now. We'll say that towards like the Q&A afterwards. But in terms of the Epicenter film that we're working on together right now, it's a pretty complicated story. It's covering basically the struggle to advocate for and implement Black studies into colleges, the UC system, and colleges in general. And what makes it so complicated is that, it's connected towards a lot of schools in the Bay Area that were central for, especially for the formation of Black Panthers. Now, our film in particular isn't focused on the Black Panthers, but a part of their origin story covers the people that they were influenced by, and basically the socio-political atmosphere that happened, in the early '60s that kind of generated the force and focus for them to want to be so vocal to advocate for Black history, to be taught in schools. And what I find just really compelling about it is that it's very tied to each of these different schools: Merritt College, San Francisco State, and UC Berkeley. And what happens is for the film itself, not necessarily for the trailer that's going to be shown, but for the film itself, it's going to be told a little bit non-linearly, because a lot of things were happening in the '60s with the shift at the times, politically and culturally, and so each of the different colleges, they played against one another in terms of learning what each of them kind of did in terms of advocating for the struggle. And another thing about the film that's very important is that at this period of time, Black studies is kind of controversial, especially with Black Lives Matter and stuff in terms of politics today in the 21st century. And Black history is kind of almost it's not necessarily being erased totally, but it's kind of being downplayed and treated by conservatives as kind of being too sensitive to be brought up. And the thing with Black studies, starting off, is that for all these people that were involved in the origins of Black studies, they were uncovering different Black authors from the early 20th century that weren't really taught in education throughout colleges throughout the mid 20th century, early to mid 20th century. And so a big interest was that especially for Bobby Seale and Huey Newton, the central figures of the Black Panthers, and then the people that were a part of the protests, in San Francisco State and Cal, UC Berkeley, and then also Merritt College. It's just a work in progress right now. But we plan to have it done for Black History Month next year, and we got a solid amount of interviews done right now. And it's pretty complicated trying to navigate the cultural and social background of the '60s in Berkeley, in the Bay Area, and then also trying to transition into, exactly how we felt for the time in terms of why so many people were ingrained in wanting to really advocate, not just for Black struggle, but for ethnic studies in general. In order to bring more vocal voices and more more history that's kind of like discarded and forgotten with different ethnic backgrounds and ethnic minorities, especially when they started becoming, very integral to the schools, that were the central focus. And so, basically, we want to touch on that as a key aspect that Black Studies is important to cover, and that, it's meaningful and that it shouldn't be discarded or thrown under the rug. And that some of the topics in our film will be kind of like controversial in terms of rubbing a little bit against the heads of the UC schools and the colleges in terms of criticizing how they kind of treated, the development of Black Studies, because they were kind of hesitant at first. They felt it was too revolutionary, they felt it was too community focused, and it was too inflamed, almost too ideological almost. And so we want to touch on how it was difficult to assuage Black Studies into being integrated into the schools, and also how it kind of evolved and changed over the years afterwards, because it did change and almost got kind of watered down over the years as it evolved into general ethnic studies, because at first it was focused on the integration of Black people in society and their role, but over time it started losing, a focus on, the particularities of how Black people contribute to society and how they generally affect it. But that's basically what I want to say for right now.
From what my son explained to you guys, this audience today, do you think this, I want to get a raise of hand, do you think this is the type of program that you would like to see on PBS, public television, like my other documentary? Is this something that you just want to see?
Hey, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
We lived this. We did this. What you're talking about, we lived. We created BSUs. We created Black students. We created that in colleges. We did that. So what you're doing, we want to see.
Yeah, right.
It's so necessary to do that. It's so necessary to do that because you're actually adding something that they need to adjust to, because they've been away from it for a long time and finding all kinds of reasons to keep it down, to try to erase it, to marginalize it and do that. And you have to keep going forward anyway, and that's you. That's how you do it. We're going to find out when you do it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. For time
We
justice.
got a Q&A going for the
A slightly different point of view, in the fact that I went through that without ever being touched by it internally, and without ever knowing what it was that was really going on. And so I want that. It's like a hole in me that has never been filled, because I was on this ethereal level through all of it, I didn't know what was going on. It took me going to Africa and living there for 4 years in Ethiopia to understand what was missing. And this is something missing. And it's missing for other people. They may not even know it's missing. But if you can somehow touch that, you have a winner.
Yeah, sir.
That was great.